Hi, I'm Russell Kirkby, and this is my role-playing game channel, Sidario, where we talk about role-playing games with a general focus on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. These are my 5 tips for 5e. When you're making your character, work with your Dungeon Master. Weave your backstory into your Dungeon Master's vision. Continue this relationship throughout the campaign, and you will find that this will add depth to your character, depth to your role-playing, and depth to your Dungeon Master's story. When it comes to creating your character's backstory, talking to the Dungeon Master is gold. That's where you're going to find the most useful stuff. I would personally share everything I can with the Dungeon Master about what my ideas are for my character, and they're going to help you weave your character into that world and make you more grounded. They're not going to be using it against you. They're going to be using it to create drama, because drama and conflict are what makes role-playing fun. Whether or not you use a voice or an accent or you play in the third person, inhabiting your character's personality is always going to be received well. Having a backstory, some objectives, some goals, even needs, this is going to be your compass to inform your decisions during social interactions and even combat. This is not a video game. You have total agency to play your character however you want. If your character doesn't want to do what the other characters want to do, then this is where you've got to get a little bit inventive, and you've got to find a way or a reason for that to happen. Now that could involve some discussion or dialogue. Now conflict is always going to be drama, and drama is what role-playing is about. I mean, you don't watch television shows to watch people agreeing with each other. So having a little bit of conflict in the scene is not going to hurt anything, as long as it comes to some sort of resolution. So in the end, you need to accept the offers of the other players, and then move towards them. You might resist. The hero generally at the beginning of the story denies the call to adventure, and then after a little bit of wearing down, a little bit of friction, then you might just go along with it for some reason. There's going to be a point at which your character is going to realize that there is a reason to go forward, and it might not be the reason that you thought it was going to be. It might be something else. When you're in game, you've given over your 5 senses to the Dungeon Master. So when you're in character, you have to literally ask for those details, otherwise you are blind, deaf and dumb in the game. So you need to know, what can I see? What can I hear? What can I smell? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? These are questions that are going to fill in the details for your character. These are your senses in the game. If you're in a dungeon and you need to get across a chasm, you might want to know, are there any bits of junk lying around that I can make a bridge out of? Because the DM's not going to just give you that information, because that will put the idea in your head and that will solve the problem for you. So you need to answer the question for yourself. Any sort of questions that are going to add details or flavor to the scene that you're playing, but they're going to be details that your character is going to want to know about. You don't want to ask random questions that aren't actually adding anything to the story. What you need to know is there something that my character can interact with? And is there something that I can potentially make a check for? Now, when you're talking about checks, this is an important point. A lot of players will simply go ahead and make checks without asking the Dungeon Master. It's not good manners to go ahead and make a check before the Dungeon Master has actually asked you to do so. You need to wait for the Dungeon Master to say, okay, make a sleight of hand check, make a persuasion check. You don't just go ahead and roll the dice before you've been asked to roll. Most Dungeon Masters are not going to ask you to even make a roll or a check unless there's some sort of possibility of failure. So if you want to do something, you can say, I'm going to investigate this door. I'm going to open this chest. You don't have to make a check, and you shouldn't go ahead and make a check until the DM literally says to you, okay, make a check. Be proactive. Give your character motivations. Everyone has a goal, an objective, a need. Find things to do. Talk to NPCs. Get to know them. If it's a sandbox game, start a tavern. Look for a job. If you're in a dungeon, search the room, investigate the chest. Being proactive doesn't just mean you need to do things or that you should necessarily go and investigate the chest. You might say, hey, rogue, this is your job. You go and investigate the chest. You know, I'm not doing it. It's too dangerous. When you're in town in some kind of social situation, you might want to ask the other players what they want to do. Find out what their goals and objectives are. Ask them if they want to go to any of the stores, if there's any NPCs they want to talk to, if there's anything in their backstories that they want to bring forward and reveal about themselves. You are working as a collaborative team. It's an effort from everyone. Be proactive and reveal plot, theme, and character through your actions. So when your turn comes along and you're sitting there thinking about, oh, what spell shall I cast? Oh, am I going to use this feat? Oh, which weapon should I use? You know, you need to be ready. You need to pay attention to other players at the table. You need to know what's happening. You need to know the context of the fight scene. You need to know what they're doing, what their strategy is, and what's going on, and be a part of that conversation. And if everyone at the table can do this, it's going to make the game smoother, faster, and more exciting for everyone. Now, if you're checking out the links below, please subscribe, and don't forget to hit the alert button if you want to get more of these types of videos. So it goes without saying, but Dungeons & Dragons is supposed to be fun. Some behavior is obviously not conducive to having fun or to good role-playing. You really have to come to some sort of consensus as a group. The DM needs to set the tone and make sure that everybody's on board with whatever the content's going to be. Read the room. Make sure that you're not saying anything inappropriate. It's hard to know whether you're the issue, but probably the easiest way to tell is if you've played with a number of different groups and the same thing keeps coming up. If people keep pushing you away or keep bringing up an issue with you or they keep telling you something, it becomes a trend. The issue could be with you. I think if you're a little unsure about how you've played something or something that you've said or done, some sort of behavior that you've shown at the table, it won't hurt to apologize. And you probably should make sure that the other players are comfortable with where you're going or what you've been doing or whatever that behavior might be. Role-playing is a collaborative effort, so please consider your other players and your dungeon master who may have put in a lot of time and energy into this, probably more than you realize. So remember to be respectful to your other players and especially your dungeon master, because you guys need each other. You need them as much as they need you.